For me, it's personally right about here is as far as I can get to a ball. So if I'm stretching for it right about here, I mean, I could go a little further this way, and I could go a little further this way, but my optimal is right about here. To be honest, I didn't realize how much depth there was to it until we started doing it, and I was like, we're not even halfway through. You know, most of the time I just focus on hitting it really, really hard.
I was a natural before. Am I no longer a natural?
You weren't a natural at this one.
I struggle with it.
You started strong, and then some of the training wheels fell off.
All right, everybody, Josh here again. Got Ben one more time here in Antigua. Very fortunate. This time he's going to help me with my fourth shots. You see him patrolling the kitchen, keeping opponents back, really winning a lot of points before their opponents even get to the kitchen, and I kind of want to adopt some of that. So I'm going to hit some fours. He's going to tell me what I'm doing right, wrong, his mentality, then we're going to fix it.
That sounds about right. I'd say the fourth shot's one of the easiest things you can improve that makes matches and points a lot easier for yourself. You get a lot of free points.
I'm glad you said easiest to improve. I thought you were going to say easiest, and I was like, that's not that easy for me. All right, well, you hit some drops, and then I'll show you what I got.
Okay, we got a backhand roll. It's a strong start.
Oh.
So a couple things. First off, I would say your backhand roll.
Long.
Huh?
That didn't take long.
No, it usually doesn't.
Okay.
When you're hitting a backhand roll, I wouldn't really drop the paddle head.
Okay.
Dropping the paddle head is it's kind of a hard thing to time, and it's more used as a flick motion for generating power from above the level of the net. If you're doing it from below the level of the net, I try to keep the paddle horizontal and then go up from there, kind of a classic backhand roll form.
Yeah.
You'll get more topspin that way, and you're going to miss less. Then forehand could be a little bit because of your grip, but you tend to contact it more to the side of your body than you do out in front. So making the area smaller that we're hitting in here is really important. So try to make contact with a fully extended arm, but out in front of you, maximum extension forward, not outward.
So because I'm more continental than Eastern?
Yeah, so the more continental you are, the harder it's going to be to actually contact it out in front. So if you kind of take a severe connie grip just as an example, and then stretch out, you can see that it gets harder and harder to actually turn it forward enough. So the more continental you are, the more to the side you tend to be on contact point. That being said, you can still, even with a severe continental grip like I have right now, you could tilt it forward enough to get to something like this, which is definitely acceptable.
Okay.
And I mean, you're not even that severe continental.
I mean, do I need to be moving more?
On some of those, you were kind of fine in terms of movement. It's really just a conscious decision of trying to make contact more out in front than to the side. There will be times where you do actually need to move, because what you really don't want is when I drop straight to the center of your body, you're never going to get a good attacking ball from there. It needs to be the side in one way or the other. If I have the choice between it, if somebody's dropping straight to me, then I'm going to choose forehand generally. So I'll slide to my left and try to get it to the side. Basically, you got to find your sweet spot zone of, for my maximum extension where I can hit good shots, it's about here. So I'm going to try to get that contact point. If the ball's here, I'm shifting this far.
They need to see that. Maximum contact point's probably almost just off your right foot.
I think it varies for people depending on kind of the wrist range of motion and what they're comfortable doing. But for me, it's personally right about here is as far as I can get to a ball. So if I'm stretching for it right about here, I mean, I could go a little further this way, and I could go a little further this way. But my optimal is right about here. Therefore, if the ball is here, I'm going to be sliding and trying to get that same contact point.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
And really, I'd say fourth ball, it's super important to keep the wrist flexed forward when you're getting to full extension, because when people get to full extension, they tend to open the wrist and it goes up instead of with topspin.
All right.
Yeah, and then when you have one that's really upwards, when you're swinging, people tend to kind of flick the wrist upwards to kind of compensate for that. Really, you don't really want to do that. It's more like you can finish above your right shoulder instead of your left shoulder. If you need to hit more severe, just change the swing path, not the wrist. Nice. That'll also get you more spin. Then we've kind of been over most of the roll positions, kind of, you know, don't break your wrist, swing upwards and all that. But then if you are getting a ball where it's near the level of the net where you're trying to generate power at that point, you're more looking to rotate a lot with your hips and your shoulders. That's going to generate all your power. But you still want to stay low enough to where when you're contacting the ball near the level of the net, your eyes are near that level as well.
Okay. When you're doing this, are you finishing with your weight on the right side, or are you getting across your body?
I would say there's a transfer if I'm hitting like a forehand, a little bit from the right foot most weight to left foot as I'm swinging because it's so rotational and I'm finishing over
a little
the left.
transfer because of this.
Yes, because of the rotation. Nice.
I came so up high on that though.
Yeah, it's better to stay down. And then if you need to, like on that last one, and this is kind of an interesting thing that is not as natural. If I'm getting, say, you know, maybe I hit a good fourth initially, but then I get a slightly higher one to where it's kind of like here.
Yeah.
People will struggle to kind of know what to do with that because it's almost high to where you want to do this, but it's not quite there.
Yeah.
Like, so what do I do with that one where I can't quite hit an overhead, but it is high? Most people will just kind of go straight through it, but they're like, I need to keep the ball in, so I can't hit it super hard. The reality is if you kind of close the paddle face and you still swing up on it, but instead of finishing here, you do this, what I call the chariot whip, you can get a ton of pace and a ton of spin and it's never gonna go out.
Tyson
so it's
does
more
that a lot, right?
This, yeah, Tyson's kind of the specialist at, that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
Initially, it's one of his best shots. So yeah, you're looking to use the chariot whip.
Okay. I got 9 things in my head right now. Thanks.
Chariot whip.
Oh no.
That one you're still coming across.
I know. And I stand straight up.
That's nicer. That's much better top spin. You also get it off the court. As a righty, you get to get some side spin on it and it goes off to the right side very nicely.
All right. I don't hate it.
I would say another thing, again, still in the volleys, this one on the backhand, is that people, it's, again, not intuitive at all. When you have a high backhand, so it's like fast enough to where you can't get this ball as a forehand, you're guaranteed to be hitting a backhand, but it's like shoulder height or above. People will do this, they're like, how do I generate power like this? The reality is our wrists just don't do this very well.
No.
So it's, again, rotational. So it might feel weird, but you're actually here, horizontal, then turn the paddle face down so you don't actually hit it out, and then you just rotate and snap, basically from this.
Is this a shot your brother has an interesting name for?
I don't remember what he calls this one.
All right, we'll talk off camera.
It's one of my favorites though, because it just feels so good to hit. Like it's a surprising amount of power you can generate with a backhand.
But when you're hitting this, you're not going down the line, you're going across, or do you hit it down the line?
You could go either way. You really just change that based on your contact point. If you contact a little further back, it's going to be more down the line. If you contact it out in front more, it'll be cross. What people really do wrong with this one is they don't trust that the ball is going to go in, so they don't swing fully hard. But if you turn your wrist down enough, it'll always go in.
All right.
Yeah, so those right there, like you see how short in the court it's landing?
Yeah.
That means you've turned the wrist down enough. Now you have free license because you see where it's landing to like really unload, like just
those
fully
landed
unload.
in the kitchen almost.
Yeah, like you're contacting it from so high and you're turning the wrist down so much that you just have full license to completely wrap. Like these are usually you have enough time to just turn to your maximum rotationally and then snap back, like loading a spring. There's no rotation there. That's just shoulder.
That was just this?
Yeah, that's shoulder.
I have too many things to think about. No rotation.
That actually looked more correct. But you see, you still missed in the net, which is interesting, right? Most people think they're going to miss long. So that one, the problem with that is that your wrist kind of came across. Like it's not a rollover with your wrist. You really want to keep your wrist back and it'll snap at the end, but never over. That actually looks really good. Keep it horizontal no matter how high it is. Yeah, there you go. You actually got some juice on that one.
All right, so you literally have like 12 options when you're hitting fourth.
You have a ton of options, yeah. Eventually they start to happen naturally based on the ball position because they each come from different positions. And these are only kind of the volley force. As soon as the ball bounces, your options kind of change completely. But there's a lot of options there as well.
All right, you hit some. Show me what I'm really supposed to be doing. Yep.
So immediately on those, really you're just trying to get maximum topspin to make it jump a lot. That one's high enough to where I can actually rotate a little bit. That's kind of the in-between one. Again, that's power and topspin. And then the one where it's a little higher in the backhand is where you fully wrap and unload.
All right, give me like 3 rolls then. Yeah, those are good. All right, then show me your, like the one you rip apart. Yeah. So I mean, like.
You got to go back as far as you can.
Your back was pointing at me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can change the placement pretty easily. So I mean, if I'm trying to hit it cross, I'm just going to contact it like out here. Yeah. And if I'm trying to go line, I'm going to contact it like here.
Will you probably go to this person unless that person's up a little bit closer? So they have less reaction, or no?
You know, most of the time I just focus on hitting it really, really hard.
All right, 2 more of those guys. Yeah, decent. All right, then show me the forehand, just at least the movement of how you get there. Yep, money. That was Chariot?
Yeah, so the first couple were severely up enough to where I still needed to finish over this shoulder.
Yeah.
Then the high one was where I wanted to apply enough power to where I had to do the Chariot whip in order to still keep it in with that amount of power.
Okay. So like if you hit those first ones and I'm coming in, I mean I know you're coming from low to high, you feel pretty good if someone's coming in on it, or do you like to try to make that bounce?
Against the better players, you have to have some peripheral idea of how fast they're closing. Because if I hit that shot on somebody that is hitting their drop and immediately trying to sprint to the line because they feel like they hit it well, it's probably not a great shot. They're going to be contacting it around mid-court near like shoulder height probably. Okay. If they're hesitant about coming in, that usually makes it pretty easy for me. I just have free license to just do whatever I want. Yeah. With the ones that are coming in fast, you have to be a little more careful, and typically I'd take that shot. I'd still hit it that direction. I'd take some juice off where it kind of dives more at their feet. Then they're, they got to hit a half volley mid-court block while trying to move forward, which is not impossible, but not the easiest thing.
All right, I'm gonna try to come in on a decenter one. Yeah, I don't like that. No thanks. One more.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're contacting it out here especially, rather than like back here, like if you're watching the ball, I don't have an idea of where you are when I'm contacting near here. That's another advantage. If I'm contacting it all the way out here, I can clearly see with my left side kind of generally where you're at in the court, and that tells me what I should be doing with the ball.
And so you're looking for out of the air. If you can't, then step back up.
We haven't really gone over that, but there's a ton of adjustments you make as soon as you realize that you either can't get it out of the air or that when it bounces, it's going to end up bouncing higher than I would have caught it out of the air. Those are like my 2 reasons. The first one is typically a little more defensive. Like if it's something I literally can't reach, they often have enough time to close pretty far. So I'll kind of get it as far as I can at the peak, have a peripheral idea of where they are, and then pick a spot. And then if it is actually going to bounce higher than I would have contacted it in the air, that's one where I'm usually looking to be a little more aggressive. And then the form for those, of course, changes quite a bit. It doesn't look like the volley very much, obviously.
All right, I'm going to give you one where you come in, and then that'll be a teaser for people to think about forever in the future. So hit this one off the bounce somewhere.
That one I would never take off the bounce because it's too far.
I don't know if I can hit a drop good enough to make it. God,
so that one was like a more linear drop. I'd probably tend to be looking to get it at your feet there rather than like a sweep attack. If you hit a little higher, yeah, but also shorter.
Yeah, out of the air. We may be here for a minute.
Yeah, so something like that. I'm just kind of taking it off the peak, and I have a couple options there. I mean, kind of where I hit it, I could try to jam you to your right hip, which would be the harder shot. And then depending on what this partner is doing, you'd have quite a few options. And at that point, I'm trying to usually kind of hit it like this outside of the ball and and kind of crunch this shoulder up to where I can get on top of the ball. But there are certainly some other options where I could kind of put the wrist up and roll it a little more, or I could even go around inside and kind of go in that area as well. And that's dependent on what you guys are doing.
So I think the takeaway is like, you're looking to be aggressive. You're looking to get to your favorite shot, your forehand,
Yep.
to get it to bounce or put them on pressure.
Yeah, I would say with the fourth shot, you have a ton of options, like probably, I mean, out of the air alone, probably at least 6 options, and then off the bounce, as many or even more. So it's certainly a shot that's tough due to the decision making, but I don't think any given one is super hard to hit mechanically as a shot.
All right. Anything else I need to know?
I
was a natural before. Am I no longer a natural?
You weren't a natural at this one.
I struggle with it.
You started strong, and then some of the training wheels fell off.
There were training wheels on?
I think so. I think so. We started dropping the paddle head, then I was like, oh no, contact point's tough, and now we haven't even gotten into the bounce attack. To be honest, I didn't realize how much depth there was to it until we started doing it, and I was like, we're not even halfway through. He's confused. So
I don't know about confused, but
lost, dazed, and confused.
No. Edit that out. Yeah, so if I just focus on being a little bit more solid, better contact points and movement, no wrist involvement, my force probably get better.
Absolutely they do. I would say your focuses are try to be aggressive, be aware of what your opponent is doing, what both opponents are doing is in picking spots, find a good contact point and move laterally, that's very important. Move laterally well.
All right. This is my thing. Like, I can win points, I can get to the kitchen, my drop stinks are all pretty good. I let people hear too easily. Like, I don't punish or take advantage of.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most underrated things. I mean, if they can't score against you, you have all the time in the world to do your own scoring.
That's good. Your one lines motivational talks are still going. All right, that's it. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, me. Antigua, you've been real.